Hello and welcome to the channel, and I'm here for an album review for you guys. Now for this review, I'm going to be reviewing another album by the legendary progressive metal band Dream Theater. Now I did just do a Dream Theater review on the channel recently for A Dramatic Turn of Events, so if you haven't seen that video, feel free to go check that out. So for this video, we're going to talk about the album that followed up A Dramatic Turn of Events, and in this video we're going to talk about Dream Theater and their self-titled album Dream Theater. There are some people that say that this is one of their weaker albums. There's some people that actually really enjoyed this album. Some people might actually say the album is underrated. Now, where do I stand in that personally? Well, I think saying that it's underrated is a fair thing to say about it, but for me, it's not one of my personal favorite Dream Theater albums. I do think that this is maybe one of their weaker albums, like some people might say. But even in saying that, I don't think that the album is bad by any means. I still think it's a very good album for sure. I think it's a pretty strong album for what it is. But there are some songs on this album that do lack replay value, but we'll talk about those, of course. Now, this is kind of an interesting album for Dream Theater because this is the album where Dream Theater kind of adapted this more metallic sound, I guess. Like, this album feels heavier, you know, it sounds heavier. I don't know if it's the production or the way the band sounds overall. I'm not really sure what the case is and why it feels or sounds heavier, you know. And the album is also not as proggy as some of their other albums as well. And you know what? Maybe that's one of the main reasons why there's some people that list this as one of Dream Theater's worst albums, because, oh, it's not as proggy as their other albums or whatever. But to me, that's not really a fair thing to say about it. I mean, I don't think that this is one of their weakest solely based on the fact that it's not as proggy or that it's more simplistic compared to some of their other albums. I really don't think that that's the case. I don't think that that's why this is considered one of their weakest, or at least why it should be considered one of their weaker albums. I mean, this album definitely has some prog to it, even though it's not as present as it was in their other albums. I mean, for example, you got songs like The Bigger Picture and Illumination Theory, which are pretty proggy tracks, but we'll talk about those, of course. We'll go ahead and talk about the tracks. So the album opens up with False Awakening Suite, which is just an introduction that leads on to The Enemy Inside, which is a fan favorite from this album, and it is a personal favorite of mine. Maybe one of their heaviest songs. I mean, especially with the guitar work and just the way the song flows, and it's fantastic. Just the way it sounds, and the chorus, pretty catchy. Maybe a chorus that can maybe get stuck in your head. And yeah, very energetic, very heavy, and it's catchy. So The Enemy Inside, definitely a great song and one of my favorites on the album, and probably one of the best songs of their modern era. But next we got The Looking Glass. I know this is another fan favorite from the album, but to me, it's actually not one of my favorites, or at least I don't think it would be a favorite of mine on the album. This song just, it's good, but it just doesn't do as much for me as some of the other songs that are on this album. Like, I even think some of the not so popular songs are even better than that song. For me, anyway. I know that this is a fan favorite. Now, it is a good song, but for me, it's just not one of my favorites. I'm just not sure what it is. I mean, the whole band sounds good. Like, they do a good job at everything that they do in that song, but I don't know. It's just a song that's never really done a whole lot for me, but I wouldn't consider it bad by any means. There's not really any song from Dream Theater that I would consider terrible. All right. So next we got Enema Machine, which I believe is just an instrumental, and you know, this song basically demonstrates how well Dream Theater can do instrumentals and how they can do them and how good they are at doing them. So yeah, not a bad instrumental. It's not really one that I think to return to very much, but I think it's good for what it is. And then we got The Bigger Picture, which to me is maybe one of the most underrated songs from this album. I don't really see a lot of people mention this song much. I don't know if I'd say it's a favorite of mine. If not, it's at least an honorable mention. This is one of the more atmospheric songs on the album. It's got this larger-than-life sound to it, which I find very interesting, and it's kind of a unique song. Just, the places it goes musically, with its more energetic moments, its more atmospheric moments, the moments where it kind of slows things down, and it's a really good song, and I think it's kind of unique. So, yeah, definitely a very strong track. And then we got the song Behind the Veil, another song that I think is kind of underrated. Not overly complex or anything. I think the thing that really stands out to me in this song is James LaBrie's vocal delivery. I think he sounds really good in this song, and he really does shine in this song. So next we got Surrender to Reason. Now, if you were to make me choose my least favorite on the album, it would probably be this song, Surrender to Reason. This song is just musically not as interesting as the other songs on the album. That's just me, though. It's not a bad song by any means, but yeah, that's just what I think. It's just probably the weakest track on the album, and I'm sure there's some people that might agree with that, but who knows. But it's still not a bad song. And then we got Along for the Ride, which is basically the ballad from this album, and you know what? This song is maybe another favorite of mine on the album. Yeah, it's not super complex or anything, and but I think Dream Theater does a very good job at ballads. I mean, I absolutely love Dream Theater's ballads. They do a fantastic job at them. This song, it's not their best ballad by any means. I think that's something that a lot of people can agree on. I think a lot of people can agree that they've done better ballads than this, but I still think it's very well done. It's a very good ballad for sure. I mean, it definitely has a lot of emotion to it. In the melodies, James LaBrie's vocals, and even the instrumentation. I mean, it's got a very strong melody that I think is very memorable as well. So, Along for the Ride, I think it's a very great song, and maybe another song that'll get stuck in your head, especially the chorus. Definitely a great song. And then we got the closing track, Illumination Theory. This is another song that some people say is one of their favorites on the album. There's some people that even say that this is one of the best Dream Theater songs of all time. For me, I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't say it's one of the best of all time, but I would agree that this is one of the best songs on the album for sure. Definitely a highlight for sure, and definitely not a bad way to close off the album. It's the epic from the album. It's a little over 20 minutes, and I mean, just the places it goes musically is so intriguing. Again, this is another song that's got some atmosphere to it, and it's just all around intriguing to listen to, and I can see why it's a fan favorite for some people, for sure. And yeah, this is probably the proggiest track on the album, I would say. So Illumination Theory, definitely a very good way to end off this album. So let me know what you guys think. What do you think of Dream Theater's self-titled album, Dream Theater? Do you guys like this album? Do you not like it? Is it also one of your least favorites, or is it maybe one of your favorites? Let me know in the comments. So that's my review for Dream Theater self-titled. So I think it's a good album overall. Not one of their best by any means, but it's still very good for what it is. So as a score, I would probably give this album probably an 8 out of 10. There's a few songs that don't have strong replay value, like Surrender to Reason, for example, but all in all, very good album. So 8 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care.